and welcome to Down the Slope. As ever, I'm Ewan, and we've got a full house again for the second episode in a row. Is that right? Oh no, Greg, you weren't with us last week, actually, were you?
Yeah.
So 2 wins in a row in the league, 6 out of 6, top of the league. Just before we get started, I think it's worth mentioning we are 6 days short of a year since our first episode was released. So thank you to all the listeners that have sort of supported us over the last year. And last year's episode, the first episode was called All Aboard the Title Winning Train. So this week's episode is going to be called All Aboard the Title Winning Train 2.0. Let's go. Harry, 6 points out of 6. Good start to the season.
Well, first of all, I'm all right. Thank you for asking. Mate, 6 out of 6, as you say. I think 3 very good halves of football. I thought against Motherwell, we struggled a bit in the first half. I wasn't too impressed, but apart from that, I think in the league we've looked very good so far this season. First half, maybe apart from the Hamilton game where we were 3-0 up at halftime, I think probably the best performance we've had under Jack Ross, especially at Easter Road. That first half was just sensational. Everything you want out of a Hibs team was just there. Like all the cliches I could list off that would just make Liam enraged, I won't list off. But there's something that I think there's something that looks quite special about this midfield. I think McGuinness and Doyle Hayes in particular, for me, look like they're a couple of shining stars that if they both stay fit and keep playing the way they're playing, we could genuinely be a very, very good side this season.
Yep. Greg, again, apologies, didn't ask how you were. Liam didn't ask how you were. Good day yesterday at the game, Greg. Yes, enjoy the first half especially.
Yeah, I actually turned into Ewan. I think it's maybe after the second one, I'm like, this is more like it. This is what I've been asking for the last year. And then the second half it wasn't disappointing, but I was hoping we were going to score at least one. Because I think they were there for the taking and we could have really hurt them yesterday. But we scored 3 goals in 11 minutes, so I don't think we can complain too much. I think the one thing I took away from
there's a complaint coming.
Yeah, too much. The one thing I did mention last season was not enough goals from midfield, and there's McGuinness got 2 and 2. I think 2 very different goals as well. The one last week was purely instinct, and the one yesterday was a great header. And I'm loving Jake Doyle Hayes in the midfield. I think he just adds a lot more than Harry's pal Gogic. The first half was very enjoyable, especially the 11 minutes. So yeah.
Liam,
I enjoyed it.
Liam, we'll stick with the first half just now. What impressed you the most in the opening 45 minutes?
What impressed me the most? I think just the fluidity with which we got the ball forward at times. We just seemed to be able to move it through the gears really quickly. Like people talk a lot about recycling possession now, don't they? That's now one of the other things in football. But it does kind of make sense, doesn't it? Like you manage to win back the ball. Centre half plays a decent pass, usually out wide. Whether that was to Boyle, who was a constant out ball yesterday, or whether that's Doig or Murphy on the other side, again, both pretty much constant out balls. We just seemed to be able to turn defence and attack really quite quickly yesterday. And then there were times in the first half, like, going to use the ultimate cliche, but we were going through them like a knife through butter at points in the first half. We really were. And we made it look so easy in the first 45 minutes. I mean, I think the 3 goals came, a 12, 13 minute spell or something like that. I mean, just so easy. Like, and you know, it's always really difficult to keep that intensity up for 90 minutes. But I feel like if we'd replicated that performance for the first half and the second half, Ross County could have been in for a proper doing. I'm talking 8 or 9 because it was just that easy for us at points yesterday.
Yeah, I watched Sports Scene last night when I got back, and they really highlighted how dominant, I guess, we were off the ball. I think we had sort of high 50s, low 60s possession wise. I'd imagine in the first half it was much higher than that. I guess it maybe evened out a little bit in the second half. But the first goal was 19 passes, I want to say, and it wasn't just all sideways, backwards. It was working it left to right. Hamlin and Poachers were looking to get into Jake Doyle Hayes and other midfielders as quickly as we could, and then ultimately it worked, and Boyle was able to cut inside and get his shot away. Also, Martin Boyle got the first goal, Harry. 5 and 5 for Boyle in all competitions so far. What have you made to his start of the season?
I know, like he's got off to this, well, not quite to this extent, but got off to a very good start at the start of last season. Obviously, we were all panicking that he was leaving and that, and then the big reveal that he was staying and he fell off for 3 months. So hopefully, this time he keeps this momentum going, because as soon as you get him the ball in that wing, Scottish fullbacks can't cope with him. Like I don't think there's a player one-on-one in the league that can handle Martin Boyle at the moment. Every single team we play, including Reka the midweek, every single team we play doubles up on Martin Boyle. He's just got that. Because the thing is, when he first came to us, he was very raw and he was literally just pace. But now he's actually a very good football player. And I think one thing we've always complained about is his finishing, but he seems to be getting on top of that. Like, as much as a keeper maybe should have done better, and the deflection helped it quite a bit, it was still a very good strike of the ball. And I don't think a couple of years ago he would have taken that shot. I think he would have looked for the ball because he didn't used to like shooting for range. But no, very good goal.
Greg, obviously the goal came from Boyle playing on the left-hand side. Do you think, probably this is maybe I think more down to how comfortable Murphy is playing on the left but being a right footer? Do you think having both the guys on each wing is going to add another weapon to sort of Martin Boyle's arsenal, because he can cut inside and go byline and he's comfortable on left and right?
Yeah, I think as well it makes it very difficult because the two are always changing over. So sometimes Murphy will drift out to the right, Boyle will come to the left, and he's got that ability to come inside and sort himself up and look for the shot. So it's always a danger because he's hard enough to track when he's on the right only. When he's drifting about and he's finding pockets of space, he's impossible to pick up. So it goes back to the whole fluid piece and how we have been more fluid, or certainly we were in the first half yesterday, and it makes it so much more difficult for defenders and even midfielders to pick these players up, because you can't get a hold of them at all. And the pace and how direct he is as well just makes everything so much better for us and so much harder for them.
Yeah, I think, Liam, it's probably easy for us to say, but we mentioned it again all summer about the width option, the options in the wide areas. And again, when I watch some sports and they've done that sort of graph when they show where the sort of volume of your attacks are coming from, and it was 17% sort of through the middle, and then on the left and the right it was really, really balanced. Do you think that is more to do with Josh Doig being back in the team, or do you think that is mainly down to the wide options that we've got?
I think it was, I feel like it was a bit of a cliche years ago, but Easter Road pitch is one of the wider pitches, isn't it, in the top flight? And I think there was elements I was using that a wee bit yesterday. It's not like fucking Tynecastle, which is about the size of a badminton court. It's a proper full-sized UEFA approved pitch. So I think we did use that yesterday to our advantage. I also think I maybe said to use in the first half is when Matt Macy gets the ball in the feet, Josh Doig's an immediate out ball every single time because he's tall enough to win balls in the air on the left wing. And I think he had a lot of joy yesterday against Conor Randall in the air. And I think just the options of Murphy and Boyle, they both always want the ball. Boyle typically wants to run it. Murphy wants it to feet. There is just typically an option if you use the pitch and you spread out a wee bit. And I think also just to fucking add even more into that, I would say when you've got two kind of central strikers, maybe there is a bit of a less of a tendency to get wide and you do go through the middle a little bit earlier on, but actually because we are playing with real width and whatever you think on Paul McGinn always gives you that kind of run down the outside and the right hand side as well. There's always balls on, so I do feel like we are starting to see the benefits of us talking about the start of the season. Some of those wide options we saw with Daniel Mackay the last 90 minutes, okay, it didn't quite come off for him, but the options are there for us to play with a really wide system, and I'm enjoying watching it, I must say.
Yeah, well, obviously when Jamie Murphy got man of the match, Martin Boyle scored and both fullbacks got assists. So that, like, you can see that we're going on about the centre midfielders last week. Probably at the weekend, I think Joe Newell, McGuinness and Jake Doherty all had really good games, but I would think the wide players probably stole the show, especially in the first half at the weekend. Second goal comes from Jamie Murphy sort of taking on his man, looking to drift inside or go to the byline, pops into Josh Doig. Like we said, he came back into team. And again, we spoke about it last week. Again, loads of numbers in the box. Josh Doig has 5 players to hit with that cutback, puts it right on Kyle McGuinness's head. Greg, you said he's going to be player of the year. He's not doing much harm with that shout, is he?
No, I think his overall play is very good as well. He picks up these areas in the box and he's always up supporting, and that's what I've been crying out for last season as well as this season. So it's great to see him. Like, you know, Doig will always make the overlapping runs. He wants to get forward. He wants to get involved. And I just think that first half was, we going about complete performances. That was a complete performance. And
from McGuinness or Doig or everyone?
From everyone. Everything, the urgency, the intensity was there. Literally the passing, the moving and the tempo was all there. So, but there is not really a lot, even me can pick up on that. I think Callahan didn't get smashed, but yeah, I think everything was there that I wanted to see, and we went on about style of play a lot last season as well, and it looks like we are changing that. We are playing a bit more fluid, and the passing's a lot better, and yeah, I can't pick a fault in that first half at all.
I think you could see a real intensity, Harry, from the moment we sort of came out. Was it right in the first couple of minutes? Boyle had a chance, and he flashed the ball right across the edge of the 6-yard box, and Doig just didn't get on to the end of it. I think Liam mentioned we were going through them like a knife through butter. Was there any part of you that was disappointed that we only had the 3 goals in the first half? Not disappointed, but you know what I mean. Like, it felt like it really, really could have been more.
I know, like that's the thing. For me, I think 3's the benchmark for a hammering. I think if we'd won 2-0 that day, I think Greg wouldn't have been happy. No, but
Harry, we've not even spoken about the second half yet, mate. So.
No, for me, like goal difference could always be a factor at the end of the season, so you want to score as many goals as possible. But I thought there was a few occasions we were very unlucky in the second half. That Charles Cook boy had an unbelievable block against Doig. Murphy nearly scored the goal of the season as well. See, in the first half, if that had went in, that would have been an absolute football before that goal. That bit of play was stunning. But yeah, no, it's good. Well. Aye, see, when Hibs win, I find it difficult to talk about them, because I'm that used to moaning about them. Because the thing is, I like it. They're doing the talking for themselves. Just watch the highlights and see how class we were. There's no denying at the moment that we are the form team in the league. It's annoying because this is the exact time I'd much rather be playing Celtic and Rangers than the likes of Dundee and Ross County. I want to play the big boys and get them battered whilst they're pissing. We're good. But. Yeah.
See, like you're mentioning with that goal. Sorry, the goal that wasn't a goal. I actually thought at the time it was a great save from Ross Laidlaw, but it was actually an unbelievable block from one of the centre halves. I'm not sure who. Am I right in saying that came from Paul McGinn again, or did he play it down to Boyle? But definitely came for the right side, and obviously for the third goal as well, Paul McGinn whips in a really good cross into Christian Doig, and Paul McGinn's had quite a lot of criticism at the start of this season, maybe even the end of last season as well, but he gives us a real good foil to Martin Boyle, I think, and we'll get on to the Reka game. He maybe didn't put some of his crosses were shit, but I think Paul McGinn creates at least one or two chances a game with his balls into the box, and obviously that's sort of 2 games in a row where he's had an assist in the league, albeit, I don't know if will he get the assist for the first goal at Motherwell, I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so, because Murphy didn't hit it right, but he did hit it. So I don't think he'll get the assist for that.
Deserves it. He gets it in our heart.
Greg, you're not Paul McGinn's biggest fan.
Where does this come from?
You were the big critic. You were the big critic at the end of last season. But are you impressed with how he started this season?
I think he's done well. I think he's done well. He's not covered himself in glory at times. Like the goal away to Santa Coloma, he was poor. I thought he maybe could have done a wee bit more to stop the cross against Rijeka. But going forward, he does give you that out ball, and obviously he's got Boyle in front of him, but he puts good balls in the box at times. We spoke about it enough. What's the difference between a good ball and a bad ball? Good balls are the ones that strikers get on the end of and score. All Paul McGinn's done is put in an area where the strikers can attack it. And it's very difficult to defend that because you're having to stand and jump, whereas the attackers are running on it. So yeah, you get balls in the box, you will score, because Doig is so good in the air, and you've got other players picking up the scraps. But I would like to see a wee bit more from Paul McGinn defensively. I think he's been suspect a couple of times this season so far already, and that's not like him. You know, when he first came, he was solid, he was very good. But I feel like he's letting these mistakes in his game. So I'd like to see him tighten up on them. But you can't criticise the boy going forward.
Liam, Christian Deutsch, am I right in saying that's his first start of the season, and at least in a competitive game, obviously done well. Aye, first start. Second league goal of the season already, though. Obviously last season it took him a little bit of time to really get up and run. It was more the second half of the season. Just were you impressed with him? Obviously got his goal, missed a half-decent chance as well.
Aye, I was impressed with him. It was one of those games where, like, if we hadn't scored and won the first half so comfortably, I was having visions of looking at Twitter and seeing loads of comments, people saying that Christian Deutsch is never a lone striker and he can't play up front of his own and he needs to play in a two and all this. And I think there's probably, like with everything, with every myth that's created, there's probably a little bit of truth to that. But I think we talked about it last week in terms of getting the two wide players as close to the striker as possible, and McGuinness getting close to the striker as possible. That for me is the major difference in us from the beginning of this season to the end of last season. It's us making an effort to get into the box, running ahead of the ball. Guys are creating opportunities because they're taking a couple of extra risks maybe to run forward. I think all of that helps Deutsch. Deutsch is a better player when players get close to him because he is quite often a good out ball. He's got a half decent touch. He can bring other players into the game, but he will also run the channels as well. So he is a bit of an all-rounder in that sense. That he will do both. But I thought he was brilliant. First 45 minutes yesterday, he was just excellent. Some of his touches, some of his interplay was brilliant. Took his goal very, very well. I actually think that he should score more of those kind of goals. I think the positions that he gets himself into quite often, I see quite a lot of visions of him with his head in his hands after those chances. If it's just a kind of memory or recency bias kind of thing, but I do think that I do think he will have a good season this season based on the bits I've seen him in play so far.
Yeah, obviously it's been the same three players that scored all 6 league goals, which it's too early in the season to be like, oh, what do we do if we take their players out of the team? Because you've still got Kevin Nisbet kicking, not yet got a league goal, but I think we'd all agree and say we've been really impressed with him probably in the European games and against Motherwell as well. It was superb. And obviously Jamie Murphy as well got man of the match yesterday. Second half, I think we started the second half, I would say probably at a similar intensity to the first half. Was it Deutsch had a good chance for a cutback that got well blocked, and then I want to say it was a really good passing move that I think Jamie Murphy had a shot from distance that went over, and then it felt like probably from the sort of hour mark that we just sort of put the slippers and pipe out and just seen the game out. Greg, what did you make of the second half as a whole?
I was only disappointed because I'd psyched myself up for like at least 3 more goals. I thought this was going to be and to be honest, it was going that way where it was going to be an absolute hammering. I think a lot of Thursday came into it where we need to look ahead to Thursday. Game's done, possibly taking it easy and very lax, but yeah, we still did create stuff, but I don't think we were as good as we were in the first half at all. But yeah, I'm not gonna start caning folk for being 3-0 up at half time and then sticking it neutral and letting it roll.
Harry, happy with the second half?
For me, with the way social media is these days, I'm glad we kept a clean sheet for me, because if we won 5-1, there would still be the bedwetters on Twitter that would be like, well, our defence is shocking, we can't even keep a clean sheet against Ross County. So personally, I'd rather won yesterday 3-1 or 3-0 than 5-1. Apologies. I tend to be quite harsh with Port just when he has his bad days, but I thought he was very good yesterday. I think the defence as a whole played very well. And I genuinely think if we keep Josh Doig, it does mean that we can actually put in our shift and chase Rangers or Celtic. Both of them look like they're getting off to slow starts to the season. At one point, one of them will go on like a 10-game win streak and pull away for the pack, because that's just how this league works. But there's no reason why we can't challenge for second if we keep Josh Doig, in my opinion. I think the defence, we still need another centre back just for depth and competition, but I think the team we've got at the moment is good enough to compete at the top end of the table.
Anyone got any thoughts on that?
Imagine I said that.
That would be imagination, mate. That would be imagination.
Greg,
I said that last season. I said, why could we not challenge for second? And I was shot down in bits.
I think we're
because Harry says it is right.
I think we're a much better team now than what we were last season.
I would say that as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest.
I think we should just back ourselves on it. Why not?
I'll just be the voice of reason. I'll be the voice of reason. We were good yesterday. We were really good for particularly 45 minutes. But the Celtic team that everyone was saying was going to struggle this season suddenly ramped the gears up a wee bit yesterday and absolutely dismantled a pretty poor Dundee side. But I mean, that was 6 going on, 8 or 9. I think Celtic will spend their way between now and the end of the window into second place, I think, this season. I still think Rangers will win the league at a canter despite Saturday. But I think we'll be third. I think we'll be a very good third this season. I think we might improve on our points total. I think fans being back will help us, especially away from home, where we've already been good. But I think just because we're a bigger club than most of the teams in the bottom 6, there'll be a lot of those games, if we're doing well, that'll be more like home games than away games for the players. So I think we'll be third. I think we'll be a very good third. If we continue to play like that through even 75-80% of the season, we'll be in with a very good shot to win a cup this season as well.
Yeah,
I agree. They're a team in Norwich and Luton Town just to get out of
there. I agree with you, Liam. I don't think it's ultimately. I don't think it's realistic for us to finish second. I would agree with the guys and say that we should put up a good fight as long as we can, and I think we will. You know what I mean? Like, I think we will continue this good form, but I think like last season, I don't think we'll drop. I think I could see us not dropping out of the top 4. I could see us really being comfortable in third place come the end of the season. I know obviously Aberdeen and Hearts have also got 6 points out of 6, but I mean, Aberdeen were a goalkeeper chucking it in the back of the net for a draw at Livy, who by all accounts haven't been great so far this season. Hearts, to be fair, 2 good wins. They got to beat Celtic and go to St Mirren, but their Hearts are their shite, and I won't hear anything other than that. Obviously, before we move on to this game against Rijeka, Jamie Murphy got man of the match, which we all sort of spoke about, me, Liam and Greg during the game. We spoke to you after the game, Harry. What did you make of that? I'd probably personally wouldn't have chosen him, but when it came to thinking about a man of the match, I was struggling to get any standout because I thought everyone was just very good. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really see a particular standout, but a special shout out for me would be the back 2.
What one?
Well, the 3 of them, to be fair. Then, the 3 of them, sorry, because obviously I made the change at half time. But who would have been your man in the match, Greg?
I would probably say McGuinness, to be honest. I thought he was very good and everything he done. Got a goal, another one. So yeah, I was a bit surprised when it was announced as Murphy. Liam's his biggest fan, so I was a bit surprised at that. But I would have given it to McGuinness. So also Jake Dollahay's had a very good game again. So
I do give it to Ryan Porteous, I think, just for the way he dealt with the big huddy that is Jordan White. He's maybe not the most all-rounded, shall we say, of football players. But I thought Porteous just made him look, I would say average, but he made him look worse than average yesterday, to be honest. Just absolutely dominated him. Did so well bringing the ball out from the back, made the simple passes, made some better than simple passes, and we kept a clean sheet. Centre-halves just don't get enough nominations, I don't think, for man of the match, so he'd be mine for yesterday.
And yourself, Annie?
Genuinely, I think you could have put names in a hat and picked one out, and it would have been a fair call.
Yeah.
I think everybody had a very good game. I was kind of leaning towards Porteous as well, just because I thought the defence just looked sound the whole game, and obviously he's only centre back, played the full 90. But I think Martin Boyle was exceptional. I think we're just that used to him playing to that higher standard that we don't even give him enough credit for it. I think the way he terrifies opposition is a rarity in a Hibs side. Like the only other player I can remember that done it as well as he did was Griffiths. Whenever Griffiths got the ball, people used to fear him. Like, you could see centre back shitting themselves when Boyle's on the ball. So I'd say Boyle. Go on, Boyle.
Would there be an argument? I'm not going to say would, but I'm going to make the argument that Martin Boyle's the best player in the league at this moment in time.
He's a farm player in the league, definitely. But I don't know if you could say he's better than a team that just went unbeaten and won the league title, I think that'd be a bit of a stretch. But
as
I
an
know
individual
definitely
player,
up there.
as an individual player, or at least the best, for me, he's a country mile the best winger in the league. Don't think anyone else gets close to him.
He's the best player outside the Old Firm.
No,
He's been the best player
100%.
outside the Old Firm for probably over a season now, on a consistent game by game basis, but also looking at it across the season, he's the most dangerous player. He's the one player that if you take anyone out of our team, weakens us the most by quite a considerable distance, like just because of the attributes that he brings to the game.
Nobody agrees with me now. I don't think there's like what Harry said, but I don't think there's a player in the league that opposition teams would fear as much as Martin Boyle. I really don't. Like, who would be the direct comparison at Rangers? Ryan Kent. I don't think Ryan Kent's as fast as Martin Boyle. I don't think he offers as much a goal threat. I don't think they've got a winger probably in the mould of Boyle. Aberdeen, I don't see it. At Hearts,
depends on what your measurement of better is, though. Because your measurement of better, like for like as a winger potentially, but I mean, if what I mean by better is has a greater impact on the game, there's probably not a player in the league that, it pains me to say it, has a bigger impact on games than Stephen Davis for Rangers. Glenn Kamara as well, probably throw into the mix.
Well, in the attacking third, in terms of influence.
Oh, boo! Oh, no, I hate that.
No, but
Shuts the goalposts.
What I'm saying is, for me, I think he's the best, the most influential player, because no individual player in any team, I don't think influences the outcomes of games as much as I agree. I think Stephen Davis is probably the best central midfielder, but I think Rangers still win without him. I think, like, for me, Martin Boyle is the most important player in the league for any one team, and I think that makes him up there with the best, if not the best. It was on a discussion point, lads, and I will back it. I still think it. I do. I think if he played for Celtic or Rangers, it wouldn't even be up for question. I mean, I think people would be screaming it for the rooftops just because.
I think if he played for Celtic, he wouldn't get in the team. But I'm maybe looking at that through green tinted spectacles. I don't know. I just don't think he would get through the Celtic. He wouldn't get ahead of Forrest. He wouldn't get ahead of even the boy I think looks top class. And he wouldn't get ahead of Ryan Christie.
I'd have Martin Boyle over James Forrest every day of the week.
He also wouldn't get up front either.
I'd have Boyle over. I'd have Boyle over James Forrest every single day of the week. Honestly,
right now? Because I think there's a bit of recency bias coming there. Look at James Forrest over the last 4 or 5 years, mate. Come on.
But right now I'm talking about the best player. I would have Martin Boyle over James Forrest every day of the week right now.
So wait, if say every player was a free agent and you got the first pick of any player in the league, you would take Martin Boyle over any Rangers player. You get them for free for a season. You get them for one season only.
Maybe other than Tavernier. Honestly,
I think Kamara. No?
We've got Jake Doyle-Hayes. What need fucking Glenn Kamara for?
Mate,
Jake Doyle-Hayes, to be fair, big fan.
If I'm, you're saying every agent's free agency. I've not got a fantasy football team this season, but if I did, Martin Boyle's the first player I'm signing. Goals, assists, he can take penalties, he can beat players easily with pace, he can cut inside. I'm happy to go there, and I would probably even say until probably the start of last season, I wasn't as hot on Martin Boyle as other Hibs fans were probably, but I do. I think he's the most, definitely the most influential player in the league for any one team. I don't see any player that has as much impact on their team as Martin Boyle does for Hibs. Anyway, you can all be boring and no backup Hibs players, just suck up the Old Firm's ashes as much as you want. We've got the second leg of the European game on Thursday. Obviously we drew 1-1 at Easter Road. 90 missed chances on Thursday night, Harry.
I know it was quite frustrating. After the game, because the thing is for me, we're a much better team away from home under Jack Ross than we are at home, and that's the main thing that's filling me with confidence. I didn't really think they looked like they were up to much. However, there was a couple of times where they cut in off the edge of the box, and the shots they were lashing, like they had some power. If they get one of them in target, it's a goal. No keeper stopping that, so it's definitely something to watch out for. I did find it funny though how it was definitely a tactic to let their right back put in crosses all day, and he might actually be the worst crosser I've ever seen in my life, because everybody in the stadium was getting frustrated at it. It was like, Stevenson, look at this space he's got, and then he wouldn't even beat the first man. Stevenson would be 10 yards off him getting the ball and clearing it. Mental. But
I think it was testament to Lewis Stevenson how well he dealt with their right hand side, because I didn't feel that Jamie Murphy gave him much help in that regard.
Yeah.
But I think Stevenson, like you say, I think he was happy to let that guy have the 10, 15 yards, and he focused a lot on the boy that scored. I think his name was Prince. He had on the back of his shirt, number 11. I think that was his name, and it felt like everything went through him. Anything they done well. But Liam, were you pleasantly surprised by how good Hibs were, or were you more surprised at how, not going to say average or bad, but did you expect them to be a bit better?
Aye, both. I was pleasantly surprised by how good we were, but then we went back that up on Sunday, so maybe I should stop being so surprised and actually just be accepting that we are actually quite a good team. I was a wee bit underwhelmed by them though as well, I must say. I kind of talked them up as being potentially technically quite a good side, and I didn't really see, other than I think the boy Prince that you were talking about, and then I think Dermot and the odd touch here and there. I didn't really see anyone in their team that I thought was particularly handy looking. I dare say we'll go over there and there'll be a different team at home in front of their home fans, but I honestly did not. Do you know what it felt like? It felt a wee bit like we were playing like Dundee United. You know what I mean? That was the kind of standard of football team that we were playing. I mean, we're going to come on and talk about predictions and stuff, but I think it's a much more winnable tie than perhaps we first thought, away from home. So yeah, I think it's goes without saying, but it's all to play for on Thursday night.
Aye, Greg, we were all sat at the game together. What did you think of it as a general game, and what were your main thoughts coming away from it?
I thought that manager was totally incorrect in what he said before the game. He was actually quite disrespectful, if I'm honest.
Sorry,
and
have you seen what one of the defenders has said today?
Well,
he's doubled down on that. I'll just give you a quick quote before you go back on to talk about the rest of this. Against the Scots, the most important thing is to keep the ball on the ground because they don't have the right answer to us. Hibs played with a lot of aggression and high balls, and while physically they may be a lot stronger than us, whenever we put the ball down and passed it, they had no idea how to respond. The atmosphere in the stadium was great, and it was a pleasure to play in, especially since it wasn't too warm. I thought Hibs were good at set pieces, and it's important for us to be careful and not give too many fouls away near the penalty box, but everything is in our hands now, and with the game being played in front of our fans, the outcome should be a lot different. We have had a lot of injuries, but we have players coming back now. Once they recover, I think that we have the quality to go on and win whatever group we're in when we get to the Conference League group stages.
Has he been sniffing glue? That is probably the worst shout I've ever heard in my life.
It was do you know the boy that should have gave away the penalty on Martin Boyle? The sort of left centre half. That
he was getting torn for arse paper. And we had no answers to them playing 5-yard passes at the back. Is that the same boy? Aye, perfect. Aye, well, I'm glad he's piped up because he offered absolutely nothing last Thursday, and he's offered nothing again in the paper today. I mean, I really don't care if they want to knock the ball sideways like Barry Ferguson made a career for 90 minutes. It's pathetic. Like, it wasn't too warm. Okay. Grow up, mate. That's absolutely ludicrous what you said. That's really annoyed me. I don't see how we're a Route 1 team.
Did you watch the game and feel like we were going long a lot?
No, because I hate that, and I didn't think we'd done that at all. I thought there's a difference between being direct and being Route 1. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't take our chances, which was poor because we should have. They scored with their pretty much only real chance. But okay, if he wants to go on about injuries and back in front of their own fans and how it'll be a much different outcome. I don't know what he's basing that on. I mean, I'm going to ask him what the weather's going to be like on Thursday. Is it going to be too warm?
Might be too warm.
Absolutely pathetic.
I did make in the Croatian Sean Batty playing at left back. Fuck me.
To be honest, man, I think I better with Sean Batty at left back than that boy. Didn't get near anyone. He was getting absolutely torn apart. So I don't know what he's piping up for.
But this is the thing. So
if Dan Mackay could actually finish, then we would go over there with a lead. And what's he saying then?
Well, this is the
I
thing.
really don't understand what he's watched on Thursday anyway.
So this is their left back that's saying this, and Harry, all three of our main chances in the first half were almost carbon copy, and they all came from our right hand side, either Paul McGinn or Martin Boyle cutting it back. I think Paul McGinn cut it back to Boyle initially, so sort of half volley straight down the keeper's neck, and there was one either Boyle or McGinn cut it back to Murphy in almost the exact same position. He sort of scuffed into the keeper's arms, and then there was the other one cut back to Kevin Nisbet when he sort of didn't really catch it. It felt like against Rijeka that right hand side, or sort of their left hand side, was going to be somewhere that we could probably really exploit. Would you expect to see that again? Maybe even more so, being away, you'd probably expect us to counter a little bit more, maybe.
I think the best chance of the game obviously was the Lewis Stevenson one. He was very unlucky not to score it, but when he hit the post.
Do you think that's the best chance though, or is it just like you're not?
I think if you've got someone that's not a left back, I think that's in the back of the net. I think you expect your winger to score. There's nothing against Lewis Stevenson. I think that was as clear a chance as you'll get, to be honest. But I thought he hit it well. It was just very unlucky it didn't go in.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't too impressed by their right-sided defender. Like, I thought he looked a bit pish. I think if Doig starts, I think he'll run it a lot more. Because that's the thing with Stevenson. Obviously, Stevenson defensively was magic. Then he did get forward, and the one time he got forward, they weren't expecting it. So that's why he was 1-on-1 with the keeper. But as Liam mentioned earlier, I think that our strength at the moment is playing wide, getting the ball wide and letting Boyle run at players is definitely the strength of this team. And if these guys are moaning about crosses so much, we scored from 2 crosses at the weekend there, so just pump balls into the box and get Doig and McGuinness to hammer them home, and then run up to the manager, he'd put them and spit on him and say, "Get it round you, take that for a hoofball."
There seems to be a real...
I don't know who that right centre half was, but he couldn't trap a bag of cement either. And I think it was a left centre half that tried the Paul Hanlon pass every time, and it ended up in the stand every time.
Oh, that happened a few times.
To be quite honest, he's not a football player, is he? So he's a mouse. That's all he is.
They did hit the front row of the East Stand on a good 4 or 5 occasions in the first half. Liam, we obviously made two changes yesterday with Doig and Doig coming in from Nisbet and Stevenson. Assuming everyone's fit, would the 2 that started last week come straight back in? Would there be any other changes for you? What would you be looking at?
Tell you what, I think will happen. And I think he'll play the same team as Sunday, but I think he'll bring Gogic back in for Doyle Hayes. Away from home, Europe, classic. Bring home the guy that's like... try and get an analogy to describe the difference between Gogic and Doyle Hayes. Gogic is that guy that can, the older guy, well, that's a terrible stereotype, but you know that person that can't type properly on the keyboard and does like hunt and peck, like goes looking for things. And Jake Doyle Hayes is someone who can just type naturally without looking at the keyboard, like he's like Mavis Beacon, just makes things look easy, whereas if Gogic makes everything look hard. Still love him, but makes everything look hard. So I think he'll come in, and I think he'll stick the Doig. But what I would do is I'd probably just keep the same team as Sunday, because we've talked about it already, but can't really fault anyone's performance on Sunday. I would just go with the same team.
Nisbet, so if Nisbet's fit on the bench?
Aye.
Yeah. Greg, Harry, same question to you. I would expect Nisbet to come in if he's fit, but I'd have absolutely no issues with Doig starting. He's, at the end of the day, he's played 120 minutes of league football and scored 2 goals. Josh Doig, does he play or does he go for the more... I don't know if tried and trusted is the right word, but Stevenson was superb last Thursday night. Where'd you land on that one?
I think purely for how bad their right back was, I would just play Doig. I was thinking about this yesterday, but I think Doig, we've got nothing to fear going over there. It's not like we need to sit in and protect anything, so they don't worry me. they had one chance and scored, but how many teams come to you wouldn't do that quite after you? I think we should just play the best team and go for it. I think Doig will give you more in the attacking sense, so I would go with him. Not that Stevenson played badly, but yeah.
Would you be surprised if Jack Ross brought Gogic in over Jake Doyle-Hayes or any of the other midfielders? Would that surprise you?
It's not a game for Gogic. We don't need to sit. So it isn't a game this season. I think Gogic should be playing. I'm just going to say that now, but I really don't think this is a game for Gogic, because why would we sit in against them? I don't think we need to. Jake Doyle-Hayes does a job well enough for me. So for me, he's got to play. I'm absolutely feeling after what that boy said. I'm feeling.
For me, it's not so much about sitting in. I think it's about having someone who naturally wants to disrupt play. And I probably don't see enough for Doyle-Hayes to know that he can do that role or not. I think there was elements on Sunday. I don't know if you guys saw the 91-25 analysis on Twitter earlier on today, but he was talking about how Doyle-Hayes, when he was getting the ball, was kind of dropping into sort of centre half to play out balls essentially. I'm not doing justice to his tactical analysis because he said it far better than I could, but I thought that was probably more of a strength rather than breaking the game up in some respects.
It's almost that Bartley McGeoch argument from under Lennon, isn't it? Is there was there games where one was more needed than the other? And am I right in saying that it never really translated into a Bartley or McGeoch argument? It tended to be, well, in the second half of the season, maybe Scott Allen that dropped out, and you've seen a midfield three, Bartley, McGinn, and McGeoch. Because for me, I think we mentioned at the game, Jake Doyle-Hayes looks like Dylan McGeoch in terms of style of play. He is that holding midfield that you say, well, just give me the ball 2 yards off the centre half and start the moves. And I think Dylan McGeoch was actually underrated at breaking up the play. And I just think probably the games that we've seen Jake Doyle-Hayes, and we've not seen if he can do that yet. Was there anything in Thursday night's game, Harry, that would make you think we would potentially need a Gogic over a Jake Doyle-Hayes?
I don't personally. I think that moving the ball around quickly against these guys will be important. Obviously, I love my Papa Gogic, but I think he is off to quite a rough start to the season. He's not been overly impressive when he's played, so I don't think that his performances have warranted him playing. And I think Jake Doyle-Hayes has earned a spot in the team, and I don't think, for me personally, especially how little Jack Ross rotates the team, I don't understand personally why he would drop Jake Doyle-Hayes. I do like the idea though with Doig. I said at the game last week, I think that game suited Doig more than it suited us, but just because they didn't seem to like it, like physicality, and Christian Doig jumping up and winning headers, and that will just wind them right up. And then obviously against Motherwell, we went to 2 up top when we needed a goal, and we ended up getting 2. So I think keep the same team pretty much. I'd play the exact same team that played against Ross County myself. I wouldn't have any problems if you kept the team the exact same. Because you can rest, like, genuinely, the Kilmarnock game, I really couldn't care less. As long as we're in Europe, we should be focusing on the league in Europe. Even if it was a Scottish Cup, I wouldn't care. I think that you just need to go for it in this game. I think it's massive.
Yeah, I agree. I would, if I was picking the team, I would probably pick the team that played against Ross County, but I do get a feeling that he loves Kevin Nisbet, and there may well be a reason Kevin Nisbet wasn't in the squad yesterday, and that, you know what I mean? I think if he needed to, he probably could have played, so I wouldn't be surprised if Nisbet came in, and yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Stevenson played either, but I think I would rather see Doig, but I'm almost expecting Stevenson to play. But obviously, Harry, you mentioned after impact, sorry, but can we get a score prediction from each of you before we move on? We'll talk about the Kelly game and the return of no social distance inside the stadium, which is good news that came out today. But what would be your score predictions for Thursday night? Or even if you just want to say if we'll get through or not.
We'll get
You're
through.
not bold enough.
1-0.
Going to give us 1-0. Liam?
2-0. Hibs.
Harry?
2-1 Hibs.
2-1
Hibs.
No, I think we'll take the lead to equalise, and I think we'll score with about 10 minutes to go. Be absolute limbs in the living room. That's what it'll be.
I think that it's going to be very tight. My heart's definitely saying like 1 or 2-0 Hibs, but I think this could go penalties. Like,
Because no away goals, eh?
I think I could see this going penalties. I think it's really important that we score first, and I actually feel like with this team, if we score first, then we actually could not pump them, but like win comfortably 2 or 3. But if we can go 1-0 up and frustrate the life out of them, we've got so much pace to counter attack that if we've got our shooting boots and our finishing boots on, then we can take goals off team in my opinion.
This team we've got is suited to European football, in my opinion, because most of the teams that do well, especially like the non-like elite teams, tend to be very quick on the counter. I think we've got a team that's very tough for this game. Like,
I think if we go 1-0 up, there's no way it's staying 1-0. I just the defence were so deep at points last week that if they're chasing the game, they have to come out a wee bit.
Yeah,
they're finito. So I think if we go 1-0 up, it'll be 2 or 3. But we are relying on going 1-0 up, because I think they also do look like the kind of team that if they go 1-0 up, will St Johnstone the fuck out of us.
I would agree with that. There was a spell on Thursday night. I think Jack Ross did identify it when he made the 3 changes, but there was a period of the game where we were chasing shadows a wee bit, and I think we just looked a little bit leggy. And Jack Ross mentioned it on his post-match on Sunday as well, that maybe in the last 10-15 minutes we started to just conserve energy a little bit. The players probably were getting a little bit knackered at the end of the game, hence the drop off from the first half speed. But so like I just said, Hibs announced a couple of hours ago that we're back to full capacity. So we're only opening 2 stands for the Kilmarnock game. So I think, did it say that'll be about 12,000 in the east and the west stand, whilst work's just getting finished on the south stand and the famous 5 stand. Notice I said west stand and not main stand there, Harry.
Hey.
That's great news, isn't it? Back to sort of a limited full capacity, and then a full capacity hopefully for a European playoff tie, if not the Livingston game. Anyone?
Yeah.
Hi.
We just look at each other and wait on someone else going, and then it's too late. We all dive in at the one time.
I'll dive in.
There you go.
I think the atmosphere a bit seemed to struggle to get going. I don't know if you guys felt the same. I felt like normally against Ross County, I don't know if it's just because we didn't have the singing section in, but I just didn't think there was that much in the way of chanting going on. Obviously, you're only against Ross County, but same as the European game, I just didn't feel like, because Hibs fans are notorious for always, like, my favourite is but there wasn't really much of that going on. So hopefully that comes back at the weekend. I wouldn't mind getting a few sing-songs on the go.
I think you can put a lot of that down. People not being in their familiar seats, like you say about the singing section, but also people just being in unfamiliar surroundings. You have quite a lot of the West Stand Brigade and East Stand and vice versa at the weekend. So I think once we return to our seats, once we get the singing section back in section 43, I think I'm right in saying that. I think
they might be a little bit further along, actually.
Drastically. Section 44, they got to rename themselves. I think I think it'll be a marked difference. Probably, dare I say it, the first leg of the potential European playoff tie. Fingers crossed.
Give us Bohemians.
Let's be honest, Livy at home. Like, I would love for us to sell out against Livy at home, but Livingston are not going to supplement that with any away fans, are they? Because we've not got any. So I think I think really, to be honest, that European game, that could be huge for us. I don't want to put too much on that, but if we get through against Rijeka, or is it the second leg? Can you imagine Bohemians away with a tie in the balance on a Thursday night, warm Thursday evening at Easter Road, a few pints, walk up to the stadium, got your T-shirt on, it's all set up nicely, like absolute hairs on the back of my neck just thinking about that wee walk along Albion Road. But I really, really, really hope that we get through in Europe just for that purpose, because I want it to feel like when we go back, I do want it to feel special. Like, it has been a long time away, and I know we've obviously been back, but like where everyone's back in front of a full house Easter Road, I think it needs to feel like a remarkable occasion. Yeah.
I actually thought that the atmosphere against Rijeka was quite good. Obviously, Harry mentioned that he didn't feel like it was that great, but I thought that there was a couple of tackles went in and the place erupted. I actually thought that it sounded like there was a lot more fans in than there actually was.
I agree. I wonder if that's because we're not used to being in the East Stand. Obviously, Harry and
Very
Liam, you both
possibly.
sit in these stands regularly, and I've probably done more singing in the last couple of games than I have in the last 2 years at Easter Road. Because at my normal seat, not a soul sings at all.
But yeah, I just really thought that the atmosphere against Rijeka was brilliant. Everyone was getting behind the team, and I feel like it was quite tribal at times, almost, where we're driving them on to do stuff, and everyone was getting involved, and it's good. It's good to hear, and good to be back involved in that again.
I think, do you know what? Against Rijeka, it was the first time I felt like, oh fuck, being back at Easter Road has really just hit home, because at the start of the second half, I thought we were playing really well. There'd been a real spell, and we were right at it. Atmosphere was starting to get going, and what happened? They scored. I felt like the atmosphere was just really starting to tick. We were starting to probably dominate the most of the game that we had, and they scored. And I was like, this is what I'm used to at Easter Road. This is much more like being at home.
One of the important factors we've not really discussed as well was the presence of away fans. Like, away fans, in some respects, you do need to bounce off away fans at sometimes at home games. It does add to the atmosphere, and I think, obviously different clubs seem to have different policies of what they're doing with away fans when folk return. But I think there's an element of actually just having a few of them in there is quite good for the atmosphere. But we'll see. Yeah. I mean, I would love us to be in a position where we only gave them a small portion of the away section, and there was a greater number of home supporters. But I think with just 11,000 season ticket holders, it probably feels like it's probably some way away yet before we can realistically achieve that.
Yeah, I would agree with that, to be fair. I think most clubs will go back to, I'd imagine now that most clubs have said full houses, I'd imagine that'll be back to, like, there'll be away fans. I know Aberdeen have confirmed full attendances, and there's no danger they're selling out Pittodrie. I know Hanks and Johnston have confirmed again.
Dundee?
Yeah.
So Johnston actually put out a column saying that there was no away fans, and then had to correct it, saying it was no away fans against Galatasaray. But I was going to say, because if they hadn't corrected that columns like an hour later, St Johnston with no away fans. Might as well play behind fucking closed doors. Played in the local park. Goalpost for jumpers, man. Do me a favour.
Harry, answer your question. Neither of the Dundee teams have said anything yet, I don't think. By all intents and purposes, it seems, I think I've got a couple of Dundee. I think I've got a Dundee fan and a Dundee United fan that are quite vocal on Twitter, and it seems like Dundee Council were almost as slow, if not slower, than Edinburgh Council, with their sort of allocations for the Dundee St Mirren, and then obviously Dundee United against Rangers at the weekend. But anyway, moving on. Obviously, like we said, Kelly in the League Cup on Sunday. Harry, your least favourite time of year, second round of the League Cup. But would you expect to see wholesale changes, especially if we win on Thursday, to then rest up for the following Thursday night?
Like, see, last year, I think the reason I wasn't that first on the League Cup is the fact that I thought getting third was the absolute priority. But now with Europe, I don't understand why you'd risk anybody in a game like that. I would be playing very low tempo. I'd be making at least 6 changes. Anybody in the squad that can play that's not a first team player would be playing. And the thing is, Kilmarnock obviously off to an alright start in the Championship, but they're a Championship team. If they upset us, who cares? Like, I'll honestly, even more so than last season, I do not give a flying shit about that game. If we get beat, I'm not going to be bothered at all.
I love how open and honest you're, but you're just total lack of interest in the League Cup. It does fly my nut a wee bit. But Liam, do you think it depends on the result on Thursday night? What sort of team we'll put out on the Sunday?
Yeah, it depends if we go what the result is on Thursday night. It depends if we go 120 minutes or not. 120 minutes and then flying back to Croatia is probably quite a lot to ask to field a really similar 11. So I would imagine we'll see quite a lot of changes. Maybe even see a couple of French players coming in. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's been a few guys who've maybe got stripped so far this season in competitive football. So Jamie Gullen, Dre Wright, a few others who just haven't really had an opportunity. Surprised actually Stephen Bradley is not going out and loan anywhere yet, because it doesn't look like he's going to be getting much of a look in this season. So anyway, so I would imagine there'll be a good number of changes against Kelly, and I think Kelly will probably win the championship this season without too much
Yeah, I
of
would
a
think so.
stretch. So they'll be a decent team as well. So it's not like it'll be a walkover. And Tommy Wright's pretty seasoned, knows what he's doing. But even with a second string Hibs, I think it will be a pretty competitive game, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Greg, which ex-Hibs player is going to score the winner for Kilmarnock on Sunday? Fraser Murray, Jason Naismith, or Stephen McGinn?
Probably Stephen McGinn on Hibs.
I think I do think it'll be an interesting game. I think a lot of it will depend on how if we go through on Thursday. I don't think it matters whether we go 90 or 120. If we get through, then I think it'll be 11 changes if that's possible for us to do it, because it's going to be sandwiched in between back-to-back away games. The potential, obviously, if it's going away to Ireland, it's not going to be as stressful. But if you're going to Greece, then I'd imagine you're probably leaving on the Tuesday. I'm guessing, for a Thursday night game, maybe the Wednesday morning. So
if it's in Dublin, I'll be chartering a down the slope ferry over to the Emerald Isle.
Wait, we're not getting paddle boats, so we're just paddling over. It's going to be class.
A couple of pedals and we'll go.
Irish sea's a harsh mistress, like.
I'll push back the mortgage application by a month just so I can come. Just an FYI for anyone that is, it's a 2:00 kickoff on Sunday, not 3:00. Don't know why. I think Rafe Aberdeen's at 12. I think that's on the telly, and then I think Celtic Hearts is on the telly as well at 3:00. But we're at 2:00 for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah, be good to get as close to 12,000 in the ground as possible. Obviously, can't imagine we'll sell that much. It's been an expensive month following Hibs already. If you've been to all the games of the European games, so I'd imagine a lot of it's been again. If we win, it's only going to get even more expensive. But just before we wrap up, Hibee of the week. Who gets everyone's nomination this week? Start off with yourself, Harry.
Martin Boyle. He's just quality. And it's still a meme. I don't think he's won Hibee of the week yet since we've been nominating him, because we had the meme last year where everybody would nominate him at least once a week, and then he just wouldn't win it. But I think 5 and 5, unbelievable start to the season. And this is quite a hot take, but I think he's the most influential player in the league. I don't think any. But I'll go Martin Boyle.
I'm going to come in now, and I'm going to say Josh Doig. I thought Josh Doig was really good, and I think credit to his performance as well with everything that's been going on. I think I was intrigued to see how he would play at the weekend, but I think testament to him, despite all the stuff, he played very well. What about yourself, Liam?
I can't believe you interrupted me to go with Josh Doig, because that's definitely not going to win. That was an absolute waste of an interruption.
You're going to go Jake Doyle Hayes, and then Greg's going to go McGuinness. That's my guess.
Oh well, actually, flip it. I'm going to go for Kyle McGuinness before Greg gets there, because Greg is absolutely the Kyle McGuinness champion, I think, of the podcast. He's been terrific. He's scoring goals from midfield. He's given us everything that we wanted. Attacking midfield player to give us last season. His influence on the games is cannot be understated. I don't think he's got that energy. He's got that athleticism. I did see a tweet. I can't remember what it was, with a picture of Jackson Irvine, the upgrade button, and Kyle McGuinness. And I've got to be honest, it's only a few games in the season, but I thoroughly agree.
There's a real balance in the midfield in there, isn't there, with Jake Doyle Hayes and then Newell and Kyle McGuinness at the sort of number 10 position.
Three proper footballers.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for Jake Doyle Hayes, because he is a proper football player, and he's not Gogic, so he gets my vote this week.
And actually, just we never mentioned it earlier. How the fuck did Ross Callahan not get sent off, or at least Jake Doyle Hayes earlier though?
I think the Harry Clark one's worse. Harry Clark, by the way, shout out to him. He's been Easter Road twice this season and been beaten. played for Arsenal in the friendly defeat, and he's been beaten for Ross County. So 2 trips to Easter Road, 2 defeats. Okay.
Let's hope it's not third time lucky. Please God, Hibs, no.
Right, well, that pretty much wraps us up there. Thank you very much for listening again this week. Hopefully Hibs are through in the League Cup, through in Europe by the time we're recording again next Monday. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.